Hey Vibe Tribe, Emily here with a guide to Halloween. So a lot of you probably know this is my favorite holiday. I get very excited when October 1st hits. So one of my absolute favorite things about Halloween is the movies. From a very, very young age, whether this was inappropriate or not, we all sat around and watched scary movies together as a family. I remember as a probably 8-year-old watching Child's Play as a family. Can you hear the therapy? But it was just something that we grew up doing. You know, we would gather as a family and watch Unsolved Mysteries together and just watch spooky things as a family. And so it's always been something that I really enjoyed. So one of the things I thought that I would do today is talk about my top 5 scary movies. First one, without a doubt, Scream. I saw that movie in 1998 or 1997 in the movie theater, and it traumatized me. That opening sequence with Drew Barrymore, I could not get it out of my head. Number 2 is the three-way tie, because how do you pick one Stephen King movie? You don't. You don't. The whole I could do a top 5 Stephen King movies. But my 3 are Pet Sematary, The Shining, and It. The 2017 version, not the 1990 miniseries. Was not a fan of that one. Say Pet Sematary because that was the first movie that I remember not being able to finish. It scared the daylights out of me. Again, I saw this at a very inappropriately young age, but you know, it was the 80s, that's what we did. So, horrifying, but really, really good movie. The remake is just as good. The Shining is on my list because it's The Shining. It's one of the top 10 horror movies ever. It's just a great movie. A lot of psychological horror, which I really enjoy too. There's not a lot of gore in The Shining, if you've seen that. So if you're a bit squeamish, but you like scary movies, The Shining is one that you need to watch. It's very psychological. And obviously, It. It's just amazing. You can't walk past a drain pipe and not inspect it to see if Pennywise is hiding down there trying to offer you balloons. It's just one of those things that I feel like everybody has some kind of story about seeing It. Number 3, Silence of the Lambs. So good. Again, not very gory other than maybe one scene. Amazing psychological thriller. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter is iconic. The casting, the chemistry between the characters, everything is just great. Saw is number 4. This is another one that I distinctly remember seeing in the movie theater. And again, spoiler alert, that twist at the end, my jaw hit the floor. It takes a lot to really, really shock me. Did not see that coming. Loved it. Still watch it to this day. Now, after the first one, I think they made like 19 more. No. The first one is where it's at. You need to watch it. My number 5 is a relatively new one. It's The Conjuring. Oh, that is a ghost story, and that is a good ghost story. Again, not gory. So if you just like the idea of being scared, but you don't like all the blood and the guts, The Conjuring is really, really good. Supposedly based on a true story, if you believe that. A lot of jump scares. I think I fell off my bed one time, but very, very good. Okay, so I also know that there are a lot of people out there who love Halloween, but they just don't like the scary stuff. So next, I'm gonna bring you my top 5 non-scary Halloween movies. Number 1, without a doubt, Hocus Pocus. How do you not love Hocus Pocus? It's a great movie because the kids love it, but there's also humor in there for adults that I didn't pick up on until I watched it as an older person. It's just a great movie. Number 2, without a doubt, it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. It just instills a sense of hope again. Like when you watch Linus sit in the pumpkin patch and wait for the great pumpkin, and it instills that sense of wonder that you had as a kid that you tend to lose, I feel like, sometimes as adults. Number 3, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Do not come at me and tell me that's a Christmas movie because they live in Halloween Town. And the first song is This Is Halloween. You can watch it at Christmas, watch it at Halloween too. number 4, Beetlejuice. I love Beetlejuice. And I just rewatched it about a week ago, and it is hilarious. That is a really funny movie. And you know, you forget how spot on the casting is. Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice was just amazing. And number 5 on my list of top non-scary Halloween movies is Casper. Classic, Casper the Friendly Ghost. There's nothing scary about that. It's a really sweet story, especially at the end when he becomes human again and he asks if he can keep her. Oh, such a great moment. So there you go, top 5 non-scary movies for you to watch for Halloween if you don't want to fall off your bed from being scared so much. So I'm going to give you a little backstory. Some of you have heard this story and some of you have not. My grandmother was living in an apartment complex in Louisiana, and one day this man came to her door and he was dressed as an air conditioner repairman. And he told her that he was inspecting all of the units in the building and he needed to come in and check her unit. So being the good Southern woman straight out of Steel Magnolias that she is, she immediately opened her door to him, invited the man to come in and stay for dinner. So he was in the apartment, he had just walked in, and about that time my grandfather and his sister came around the back corner. They had been in a back bedroom and had just walked out. And when the man saw them, he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I did not know that you had company. You know, this isn't something we need to do right now. I'll come back later." He went on about his business. He told her he would come back later and he left. Several hours later, they heard sirens and she walked outside to see what was going on. And they found out that a woman who lived alone in another apartment in the complex had been attacked. And they had no leads on who did it. So cut to months later, and Ted Bundy had just been apprehended in Florida after the sorority house killings. And they broadcast his picture all over the news, and all of a sudden, my grandmother realized that was the air conditioner repairman. So my grandmother almost got killed by Ted Bundy. Always just been one of my favorite stories to tell people, because how many people can say that's part of their history. And so for that reason, I think true crime has always really fascinated me. So a few of my favorites, if you like true crime and you're into that kind of thing, highly suggest you check these out. Number 1, gotta go watch Confessions of a Killer with Ted Bundy. Conversations with a Killer with Ted Bundy. It is so good. So it's a documentary, and it is the actual tapes that were recorded while Ted Bundy was in prison. So you get to hear in his own words the things that he did, his motivation behind them, which I don't ever really think he had any, but it's really, really fascinating just to get into the mind of somebody who committed such horrible crimes and hear what they have to say about it. Also in that category, definitely jump on and watch Ted Bundy Falling for a Killer. That is actually an interview with his longtime girlfriend and her daughter. And also the Zac Efron movie, Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil, and Vile. That is actually what the judge called Ted Bundy in one of his court proceedings. That's where they got the name of that movie. So number 2 on my list, American Murder, The Family Next Door. Just watched this one. It's about the 2018 murder of Shanann Watts and her 2 kids. And the entire documentary is done from first-hand footage. They use the Ring camera at their house. They use body cams from the police who showed up. They use actual recordings from the police station, and then actual text messages between Shanann and her husband. It's really, really good. Really, again, to see it all unfold firsthand is really cool. Number 3, Unsolved Mysteries is back. That's right. It's on Netflix. The sleuth in me really wants to know how these stories ended, but that's a great one. The OG Making a Murderer. That one was really, really interesting because that guy was falsely charged, falsely convicted, falsely imprisoned, and then got out of prison and really did commit a murder. So the whole documentary is basically, did the prison system turn this man into what he was accused of? Really interesting. And finally, my last favorite true crime documentary is the Amanda Knox story. I don't know what it is. I don't think that girl did that. I don't think she killed her roommate. I have a lot of theories. I won't go into that now. But everybody knows the story. American girl living in Italy. Her roommate's murdered. They think she did it. She goes on record, and they actually do interviews with her, with the guy she was dating at the time, and really present a strong case that she didn't do it. So that was really interesting as well. So if you love true crime, check those out. So that's it, Vibe Tribe. That is Emily's guide to Halloween, or in my world, Emily's guide to everyday life. And you know, I know that this isn't everybody's thing. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't really care for Halloween, but that's why I tried to give y'all a really, really good mix of stuff. You've got everything from the extreme horror lover to people who want to watch a cute cartoon about a dog who dresses up as a pilot and pretends to fly his doghouse. So I feel like there's something in there for everybody, even if Halloween is not your favorite. So I hope you enjoy this little sit down with me, and stay tuned because we're gonna have some other people do a guide to Thanksgiving, a guide to Christmas, and you never know what we'll pop up with. So thanks for sitting down with me, guys. Talk to you soon.